In this video, we are going to talk about business credit. Specifically, I'm going to share with you really everything that we learned and experienced in the trenches getting millions of dollars in business credit funding in 2024. So it's everything that we learned this year getting business credit in the community. And so this is, probably a couple $1 million worth of credit that's now gotten in the trenches by real people. Let's dive in. All right, my friends, so I've got a lot to share with you. I'm very excited to do this video because I've been putting this list together now for months in terms of what we've been seeing consistently across the boards with people that are still doing apps freeze for businesses. Business credit in 2024 has changed a little bit, with a higher interest rate environment. We keep talking about this, but it really does affect things. And it's not even the first year that it affects how banks operate. It's like the second, third, fourth year and on, it starts to really negatively affect banks for many reasons. So anyways, there has been some changes, but I want to share with you really the laundry list of stuff. I'm looking at my notes here as I'm shooting this, and there's 11 bullet points, and then I've got some data points that I want to share from some recent app sprees that was about 130,000 in business credit. So let's dive in, Starting at the top. First thing you got to know is that a lot of banks are pivoting over to a 2 years or more in business model, meaning that the business that you're trying to get credit funding for has to be 2 years or more in business. Now, first it was, I think, Citizens and KeyBank. I can't remember which one went first. I think it was KeyBank went first, and Citizens started to tighten up. Both of those banks are great examples of like 3-4 years ago, everyone could get in. Now, nobody can get in because the 2 year business rule that they started to implement. And also too, both of them are starting to tighten up on geo restrictions as well. But anyway, those are some basics getting out of the way. Next is everything now, it seems like, is super important to focus on business bank rating. So what is business bank rating? We've covered this in previous videos. And what's funny is all of this stuff that I'm sharing with you today is talked about all the time on a regular basis in a Discord. So this is like an indirect plug to probably join the Discord. It's $30 a month. There's probably worse stuff that you're spending $30 a month on right now. And this will help educate you and push you forward with your goals of getting more business funding. So probably check that out. Business bank rating is we have to put a certain amount of deposit into our business checking account and leave it there for 90 or 180 days. And the bank will start to establish a business bank rating. It can sometimes just take a couple days or a week, but if we're talking smaller amounts, then it's going to probably take a couple months to establish, and they want to see that there consistently. So whatever amount of money that you deposit into your business checking account, deposit it and don't touch it. Act like it's dead. It doesn't exist. Okay. So there are some suggestions I have here. $10,000 puts you into a low 5 score. You want to be in a 5 if you can do it. And so a $10,000 minimum is where you want to be at. If you can do 100,000, that puts you at a high 5. That's the high end of a high 5 score or rating. And what you start to notice at 100,000 and above is you start to get your own BRM. You get dedicated people. You got cell phone numbers getting handed out to you. Your diamond status at Bank of America, and so you start to get a little bit of a different treatment at $100,000 and above. So if you actually do have a high revenue generating business, then this is already right up your alley. So let's continue on. So that's business bank rating. You want to at least do a $10,000 deposit if you can, but even if it's like 3,000 or 4,000, just get started. Get started now because you're building the relationship, you're building the data points with the bank, and use that bank, especially if you are not earning a lot of money with the business yet. Use that bank as your primary bank. Everything from your Stripe ACHs, from wires and payments, everything coming into that account, so they can start to see this action and evaluate you, right? So that's really, really important. We covered the 100,000, the BRM thing. A lot of these guys too, the BRMs are extremely knowledgeable to the point to where they're going to tell you exactly what to do. Like, hey, the bank isn't going to like this, so pay this down another 5,000, 10,000, bring it down to this much utilization. Then, I'll help push through your application. There's a lot of, I think, what you would even consider gray area stuff that occurs with a BRM. And it's just because like they're your guy, they're going to go to bat for you, and they're going to start to tell you a lot of these secrets that the bank uses, or really just stuff that maybe you didn't realize was important. Okay. They're not all going to be like that. You can get bad ones. We've heard of that too. Also too, no, nobody in the community is going to share their BRM. There's no magical BRM that's just going to like help you get unlimited amounts of money, and they're going to break every rule to do it. It doesn't work like that. They work off of commission, it seems like, at most major institutions. But again, don't expect people to share their BRMs. And I don't think that's even important. It used to be this huge thing that was talked about, like I have the secret BRM that can get you in. No, I don't think it's like that. I just think that a lot of them realize the incentive and the position that they're in, and so they will help you however they can to get into that bank. Simple as that. Let's move on. You're going to want to deposit this money and keep it in there for at least 90 days, but I would just say plan on it being gone. Forget that it's there for 180 days. Let the business bank rating get established. Okay, next, I already talked about using it as your primary business checking account. If you already have an existing relationship with the bank, meaning that you're processing money through them, this is where you want to start. Again, we've talked about this a lot, is if I'm already getting all my Stripe ACHs sent to that account, I'm keeping, whatever, $3,000, $5,000, $100,000 balance in there. That is the first bank that you want to start at with getting business business credit funding. Chances are high that they've already been watching you. You're probably already pre-qualifying for stuff. You just haven't thought to go down this road yet. So on Chase, you can check for just for you offers, I think they call it. It's a little different on every single bank, but there should be some sort of area or page that you can go to that are specific offers just for you. And if you've got nothing showing up there, you might want to just call in and see what kind of answer and response that you get, and kind of like poke around and fish around. But that is really the best place that you want to start, regardless of what you got going on with your business cash flow. Is the bank that you're already transacting at, that you've already got the history with, usually is the best place to start. There's one exception to this. I'll share in just a couple minutes. Next, let's talk about now bank specific notes. I've got specific notes on Amex, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo. Let's start with Amex. Amex is probably the most interconnected personal to business bank, if you want to call it a bank, that exists. And the reason why I say this is because they really merge over and blend data from personal to the business, okay? And they seem to do it the most, meaning that it helps if I've got a personal relationship already. It helps if I've got a high yield savings account. It helps if I've got fill in a blank. They really tend to weigh that in more heavily than a lot of other institutions, okay? So if I'm already in Amex and I've already got personal products, loans and credit cards and stuff like that and charge cards, then checking out the business side is an easy pivot over. And in fact, there's a page that you can go to. If you want to just search out business blueprint application, that should take you to the exact page. Otherwise, maybe I'll remember to put a link in the description. But yeah, you want to go to the business line of credit or the business blueprint app. And if you're already logged in, then that will kind of walk you through a similar soft pull process that you would expect from Amex and already being in there. Quick note here is that the business blueprint app, that's their business line of credit. And that will allow you to get, I can't remember how far, but you can get into the process with a soft pull, and it'll tell you like, hey, basically here's the clear indication point where we're going to hard pull your credit, or you're going to actually be submitting an application. But you can get pretty far and hopefully be able to figure out exactly your odds, or get a better chance of your odds, by going through the application process and going through the soft pull of it. Okay, so that's Amex specifically. Let's talk about Wells Fargo now. Wells Fargo is probably one of the worst banks by far. It took me probably 2 years before I even put a channel in the Discord. If you notice and go back to the original videos on the channel, we've shot hundreds of videos now. How many of them are on Wells Fargo? I think just 2 or 3. And it's because before I even launched Wallet Monkey, I just knew Wells Fargo was a horrible bank. I knew a ton of people that had bad experiences. They shut down a lot of their products like just overnight, and then it's just like, oh well, like you're screwed now. And so all this behavior I've now seen, I actually expected them to go under in 2019. And if it wasn't for the repo term bailout that occurred in 2019, I actually think Wells Fargo would have gone under. Not saying I was like cheering for that or rooting for that. I just think that they're such a poorly run bank. That's why you see these issues constantly popping up that they're facing, right? So they are probably, if Amex is the most interconnected, I would say Wells Fargo is probably the most disconnected. And the reason why I make that assumption is because just on the personal end alone, we had somebody kind of fish around and go through multiple applications for personal credit cards within like a short period of time, same day, next day, within 3 days. And they got 2-3 cards. What they noticed is that they were actually getting sent and having different underwriting departments looking at the different cards. So within the personal credit cards department, they have different underwriters and different underwriting departments. And so that just kind of speaks to the segmentation that they have. And so if they've got that within the personal, you can assume that between personal and business is that, they're very clearly separated. And obviously most banks will have a separate underwriting department for personal and business. Just expect that. But anyways, their behavior and everything, I don't really like them as a bank. One more note to drive the point home here specifically is we had somebody in the community that was running millions of dollars through their Wells Fargo account. It was their primary business checking account. They had been with them for over 8 years, and they kept balances high, over $100,000 in the account. And they went to finally get business credit, and they gave him $50,000. And they hemmed and hawed, and they asked for a bunch of paperwork, I think, with him, and they gave him a hard time about it. Meanwhile, he was with Chase for like 2 months, got a BRM immediately, really great guy, had a good relationship with him, and Chase gave him $230,000 in a business line of credit. Wells Fargo only gave him $50,000. After 8 years of history, running millions of dollars through that business checking account. So again, there's going to be differences like this in banks. And so you have to choose which one you want to go with. I'm just giving you the data. Personally, that's a joke to me. He immediately started pulling out money, and I don't think he's even using the Wells Fargo account anymore. He loves BOA and his Chase. So he's going to push all of his business now to those two. Again, a lesson to be learned there. If anyone from Wells Fargo is watching, like, you really got to get your house in order. Next is BOA. I would say that probably this is the most newbie business friendly bank that is out there, right? Because I could go in there right now on a sole prop and get a couple $1,000s on a sole prop credit card with meh personal credit, brand new LLC. I could, again, get upwards of $10,000 depending on what my personal looks like on a brand new LLC. They don't have the 2-year requirement. And so also too, they tend to, once you're already in personal, it does help with the business, but it's not like a shoe-in. It's not as interconnected as Amex, but I think it's okay. That being said, I think that once you start doing business with them and you start holding a high balance, let's say over $100,000, they really start giving you out the farm on their BLOCs. Another important note is that they have both a secured credit card for the business side and a secured BLOC, which I didn't even know this. We actually found this out from one of the BRMs. They will do a secured BLOC up to $10,000. So if you're struggling or you think that your business is still too fresh, you're not making enough revenue, but you want to get in on the business side with Bank of America, both of these graduate, by the way. You could do a secured BLOC or again, a secured credit card, and both of those graduate, which is insane. I actually don't know of a single other graduating BLOC out there. That might be enough for you right there. But anyways, another little tidbit that we got of insider information is that BOA pulls CreditSafe and LexisNexis on the personal side for your business applications. And what they're looking for specifically is they're looking for how you've been paying your net 30, 60, 90s and tier 2 accounts, also to make sure that you don't have any outstanding high balances across the board. This trend of pulling LexisNexis, CreditSafe, and others like this, these second tier bureaus, is actually a newer phenomenon that we're noticing in 2024. So this is another point to put on your checklist, is that expect that major institutions are going to be looking more so at your personal credit, more than they did when we had 0% interest rate, I'll tell you that. And so more so than what we're used to over the last couple of years. And on top of that, they're going to pull LexisNexis, CreditSafe, or another one like that, and they're going to be looking at that. And the downside to that is that if you're trying to do round after round of applications in a short amount of time, 30, 60, 90 days, is these applications, these hits, these new accounts that are showing up on LexisNexis are not dropping off in time. So this is negatively affecting your, round 2, round 3, and it wasn't doing that before. That wasn't an issue before, right? And so that is another big point to make. Most banks' underwriting departments, personal and business, are separate. I already shared that with you. That should be obvious. I don't think that's anything new. Also, another important note along those lines is make sure that the business lines of credit that you're getting or the loans that you're getting are not going to take a UCC lien 1 position. This is pretty similar to taking the first position on a personal mortgage. It just ensures that the bank gets paid back first if you default. And so the SBA, for example, will always take UCC lien 1 position. Also, too, BHG on the business side will do the same thing, and a lot of people don't know that. So even though they seem like they're still giving out the bag on the business side, they will do a 4506 on you, and they'll take out UCC lien 1 position. So BHG is amazing. They will actually do up to $250,000. We have somebody who got $160,000 for a personal loan with them, which is insane. But the POI process is tedious, can take upwards of a week, and the other 2 points that I just made. 99% of banks want to see POI for the business, and that the amount of paperwork, how long it takes them to process, that seems to be growing a little bit. The norm is now like a week or more. And also obvious things like articles of incorporation, they're going to want to see taxes, things like that. So for some people, that's going to be an issue. You might want to focus on something like a BOA, but if you're 2+ years and you've now filed that 1 year at least of taxes, you'll be fine. Another important note on this is that you might be thinking, okay, well, with LexisNexis, I can just opt out. Well, if you opt out, then you're going to start to have ID verification issues. They're not going to be able to connect your ID essentially with the databases, and you're going to get denials, you're going to get issues come up, you're going to have to talk to underwriting, they're going to want to know why, and it's like all this fraud algorithmic stuff is getting triggered, and I'm not sure if you're going to actually want that. So really heavily weigh in if you want to opt out of LexisNexis and similar, right? SageStream, those are both the same company now, by the way. Yeah, and go from there. PNC and BOA both confirmed to use LexisNexis on the business side. So now let me share some data points. So if I have additional information, which I'm trying to wait to see if I'm going to get more, like screenshots or what, I will share those with you in the next little section here. But if not, here's what we got. 2 rounds of business credit funding. The first round was $79,000 and the second round was $40,000. Now, important note is I think the round 2 would have been way bigger, but there was 2 missed payments in between round 1 and round 2. What essentially happened, and again, we keep talking about this, and I'm sure in the comment section you're thinking like, how does anyone screw this up? How could you possibly do this? Well, sometimes the automatic stuff doesn't work. And that's what happened here, is he went in and changed all of his auto pays to minimal and adjusted it to the best day of the week based on this best pay date thing that was in one of his credit trackers. And when he did that, evidently Discover and PayPal didn't transfer over. And so both of those were missed payments. And so now he's like, he has to fight to get that cleaned up. And he's getting help actually from one of his BRMs, believe it or not. That is not at one of those banks, by the way, a BRM from BOA. That's that. So the 2 missed payments negatively impacted this second round for sure. But also too, the LexisNexis stuff started catching up to him, like I talked about earlier. So to wrap up here, Truist pulled Equifax, Chase pulled TransUnion Personal and Experian Business, PNC pulled Experian Personal, Experian Business, and LexisNexis confirmed. BOA pulled TransUnion Personal, CreditSafe, and LexisNexis. Synovis pulled EQ Personal and Business, and Wells Fargo pulled EX Personal and Business. And like I said, if I've got any additional screenshots with the starting limits or anything, I'll show those now. But that's everything that he got, everything that was pulled, and that's all the data points that we've got for 2024. Again, remember, this is stuff from people who are actually in the trenches searches, which ranges considerably from a lot of the generic videos that are posted and regurgitated information that is, regurgitated over and over and over again. So if you've got data that you want to share, you think we missed something, comment below. And again, show us some love in the comments, share this with some friends, get this information out there, because we are in the end of November 2024 at the time of me shooting this. And I'm fully expecting this to be kind of the norm through at least the first quarter into possibly the second quarter of 2025. It depends on what rate cuts look like. And obviously we have the transition of the Trump administration coming in. So all that being said, that's the video. Thank you so much for watching. Comment below if you got something to say, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff to help us, gets us out in front of more people, and we'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Hey, you should subscribe. 60% of you are not subscribed yet, right there. Okay, bye.
Wild monkey.